Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and for the second build of the league in the past couple of days I have been working on making Smite and Vaal Smite as well as Frozen Legion into an Inquisitor style build. And I'm pretty damn pleased with the way things are going. Like, Vaal Smite, as soon as you get it at level 1, is one of the most insane clearing skills on the fucking full screen ability scale in game. And it feels just super. It's basically the Vaal Ice Nova of melee skills now, and it's very, very satisfying to press, and it can cover up any real clear speed issue holes in almost any melee build, I'm pretty sure, if you want to slot it in. The build, by design, though, is supposed to be Smite for kind of clear, and Vaal Smite for clear, and then using Frozen Legion as a pure single target assist as a scepter-based character. So as you can see, I attack every now and again with Smite, and then for things like Metamorph, Essences, tougher rare mobs, and bosses, I then use Frozen Legion. This is an Inquisitor, so I'm full elemental base with a Scepter, and just trying to have a 5-link for Smite with Thunder Fist, so it's a pretty powerful 5-link because it's got a level 30 added lightning, and then the 6-link is Frozen Legion. So I'm not using Frozen Legion as like the main skill in this, because dealing with Frozen Legion as an actual skill to build around is pretty tough. You got to consider the spell aspect of it. You got to consider the fact that it turns into an attack. You don't get like charges generated from it because it's not you killing. It's basically a totem attack or skill, if you want to think of it that way. And then on top of that, you got to deal with the cooldown of it, and oh, that's a good Vaal Smite. And then that means that you have to start caring about cooldown recovery rate to turn it into a clear skill. So I've done none of that, and instead just used it as a really fat button to press for big additional single target damage. And yeah, the build is going pretty well. The only issue is because I've built it in a certain way, I don't have much attack speed, and that means that it can be a bit slow for attacking some packs and all that. So I've tried to build a bit thicker here or there so that I can actually take some hits. But for the most part, not really dying to anything too random, only the really tough stuff. So the Metamorphs you see me fight are also fully juiced, like I've spec'd entirely into Metamorph, and it's killing them pretty quickly. Likewise with Essences, and it's just been going really well for what it is. I think definitely a lot of the Vaal skills out there right now are worth looking into, and Melee as a whole feels pretty damn good. I know it's a big meme that Melee sucks or some shit, and one for one, compare it with some other shit, maybe it might. But for me personally, for the past 2 leagues even, something like that, the only thing Melee really feels bad in is uber boss fights, and that isn't a thing for most of us anyway. I've yet to take on any this league anyway, and it's not something that phases me too much. We'll see how it goes on this character either way. For the Sanctum though, this hasn't been too bad. As long as you get your like melee skills up to doing enough damage, you just run around one-tapping things, and then it doesn't really matter ultimately. But until you're at that point, I guess maybe it might be a bit uncomfortable. That said, I think this Frozen Legion and Smite sort of setup can be pretty low tier. You don't have to do much. Like up until about level 70, when I was running around one-shotting everything, I already cleared like 2 full Sanctums up to floor 4 just while leveling. The leveling setup was, like 20C or some shit. It's nothing special, and we're just running around with a Brightbeak and a bunch of flat damage and running around one-shotting everything. So it feels pretty damn good, and the end build I think is going to use a Frost Breath, which is a very achievable main hand weapon, and it should be pretty easy to get going. So hopefully I can pull that off so that a lot of people can try out a nice little melee build without going too high into investment. This won't be a defensive god or anything, so you might die occasionally, but it should have enough that you won't be dying all of the time. So with that said, there's still a bunch of work to do on the character, but with that said, I want to go ahead and show you how I've built it thus far. So here's a current character, level 88. No, I'm not covered in TP, toilet paper, Quinn cosplay thing as an Inquisitor. Anyway, level 88. It has gone through a few little changes and updates, and there's definitely going to be ways to do things differently. Mainly, I'm talking about the fact that I stuck with Wrath to begin with, and I was using lots of different auras to plug in various holes. So you can run Determination if you'd rather be more like melee tanky. I was running like Purity of Fire, I was running like Herald of Ice, various things, and I've landed on Purity of Elements just to become element immune and fix some resists so I could enable some certain types of gear. But at this stage, it's not even that necessary. I could like get more resists if I really needed to, since I'm not quite done making the character. But the idea is that I'm built around Thunderfist, which have a level 30 added lightning gem, which is worth a bit more than a normal support, so it's almost kind of like a 6-link. And here I have Smite and Vaal Smite, and then Hypothermia, Ancestral Call, which gives quite a bit more range and clear capability for Smite, and Inspiration. And then the 6-link in the chest is with Frozen Legion, and then we have Inspiration, Pulverize, Hypothermia, Crit Strikes, and early damage with attacks. So Frozen Legion is a spell that then basically uses an attack. So attack speed doesn't do anything for you, since you just have a base cast time. So getting cast speed will make it like quicker to activate, but ultimately you're not really trying to get any attack speed, because all that matters is that you press the button and then all your little Legion boys come out and they attack a target. You then have cooldown recovery to get your Legion statues that you summon back up, and that's what I'm trying to not build around, because I don't care about pressing this button too often. I just care about pressing it once every now and again. So currently you can see I can spawn 8 guys if we're positioned perfectly, because the way Frozen Legion works is if you're like up against a wall or some shit, you can only spawn whatever's capable of spawning, and the rest won't be used as charges. So at least it's kind of convenient that you can then just keep pressing your charges, so you're not fully wasting the skill that way. Currently I do have 8 charges though, because I have the Helm enchant that gives 2 additional cooldown uses. So instead of the 6 default, I've got 8. This is on a replica Abyssus, and it was the first enchant I got while doing Uber Labs, so cool. I'm going to go with that. I don't think it's mandatory by any means, but it does help occasionally if you're lined up perfectly to hit with your little Frozen Legion guys. You can see that the mana cost is basically only attached to 1 link, because this is just the spell that it uses. It then triggers the attack, which is Frozen Sweep over here. That's got all the attachments to it. So you just really only care about the biggest maximum hit, so you don't need attack speed, and having like consistent crit will feel good too. So currently those are the links. I might need to get rid of crit strikes, we'll have to wait and see, but I'm currently using a mace that I picked up that just has a fracture lightning. I then essence spammed with fire or cold, I don't know, until I hit the other one, and then you can fix off suffixes by doing prefix cannot be changed. Currently I'm just using the accuracy, but I might fix this up in the future. I either fix this up or I start running a Frost Breath, because it is really hard to beat a Frost Breath in this type of a build, since attacks with this weapon deal double damage to chilled enemies. So that means that the Frozen Legions will pretty much always deal double damage against anything chilled, which will be pretty much everything. And if you're stacking a lot of flat elemental like I am from Abyssus, from like various bits of gear and stuff, then Smite as well, then Frost Breath is really tough to beat. The only issue is it's a bit slow. I've yet to try it out just because it hasn't been necessary, but for end game I'll probably give it a shot and see how it feels. The slowness of the weapon doesn't matter for Frozen Legion, but it will matter for Smite gameplay, which will make it just a bit less comfortable. So we'll see how it goes, but it's for sure accessible starter weapon for a build like this. We then have just a bunch of int and stuff. Made this amulet yesterday quickly. Mark of the Elder, made a shaped ring with a bunch of res randomly by spamming lightning essence, I think. Yeah, something like that. And then using the new boots Dawn Strider, which give increased buff of your ancestor totems while active, but you can only use one totem. So I've gotten rid of Ancestral Protector, and I'm only using Ancestral War Chief, which will give more damage for our Frozen Legion, and it also means I don't have to press Ancestral Protector anymore. So it's a pretty nice boot for this sort of setup. And since I'm using Replica Abyssus, 40% increased elemental damage taken, I've tried to counterbalance that by getting some max res in the build. So I've got 2 max res there. I am using a Sanctum Relic that I found has 3 max cold res, and I'm speccing into it across the tree here or there. So I got some there, some there. Currently I'm at 83, 83, 80, and I probably still going to reroll this shield. That max lightning res is the only thing that's really good as a suffix, since I'm overcapped on res. And then I was using a Prism Weave for most of my character's existence, but I just then made this jewel here and then bought this jewel here and put it in a Darkness Enthroned, and that's going to be a lot of extra lightning, cold, whatever damage, instead of just a regular belt. So we're getting a lot of damage from Wrath, Smite, Replica Abyssus, Darkness Enthroned, and for like Smite, Thunderfist, and also the weapon itself. But the weapon at this stage should be able to go away in favor of Replica Frostbreath. But you can play around with POB to see how those numbers work. And we can do all kinds of elemental damage since we are Inquisitor, so that's pretty convenient. I'm then also using Instruments of Virtue and Augury of Penitence. Instruments, Battle Mage has no interaction, forget that. It's all about the 10% more attack for each non-instant spell. So attacking with Frozen Legion, for example, will give us 10% more damage, as you can see. Then Flame Dash will do the same thing as well and give us even more damage. We could even just have another skill to use to just randomly press every now and again to get more damage, something like Stormbrand with Power Charge on crit. For now, just leaving it like that, so it sometimes gives me 10% more here or there. Otherwise, the passive tree is just taking some Mace nodes, some LE, some crit, a bit of thickness here or there, some accuracy, some aura nodes. These aura nodes affect Smite, so it gives you a bit of extra area. Some fortify nodes over here, and I currently get fortify from a megalomaniac down this way, which is just Overlord. I was thinking about doing a full cluster and getting Overlord there. Ended up deciding with just a megalomaniac. I've got pressure points here as well. If I start using Frost Breath, then this becomes quite a bit worse, and I might need a separate megalomaniac, or I might actually get a large cluster with Overlord. We'll wait and see for that for now. That's currently the tree. That's currently the build. You can grab Smite at level 1, grab Vaal Smite at level 1, see just how insane it is yourself. I've been using Ancestral Call with it the entire time, and a lot of the time it was just straight up a 2-link. So for like the campaign, it was Ancestral Call and then like Onslaught and some other crap skill. Crap support, sorry. And yeah, I've taken care of mana at the moment with a minus mana cost craft, and everything's pretty cheap. 3 mana there, and barely any mana there. Mana Flask is going to go away soon, because I don't think I need it anymore. I just haven't replaced it just yet. Probably grab like a Granite Flask or something like that. That's currently the build. I do highly recommend checking out some Smite and Vaal Smite, and Frozen Legion as well is pretty damn fun in the setup for big one-shots. I think there's lots of versatile ways to build around both of these. This is my one attempt, and hopefully a pretty budgety one if we go Frost Breath. But for now, thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.